The sentiment around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies remains bullish. We've been keenly observing how, from this Bitcoin's bearish impulse, we've been forming a W, a weak high, from which we speculated it made sense to start an impulsive move in search of a Z. And if you ask us if we think that Z has come to an end, to begin a bearish trajectory, I'll tell you that we actually think quite the opposite and continue to see its continuity. If you look at the traditional market, the S&P 500, we were considering the idea of a bullish wedge that was at the point of breaking out. About this breakout, our idea was to look for that structure that would become the guideline of a Z, upon which, with that impulsive movement, it was time to think about when we would start that bullish correction. In the end, both the traditional market and the crypto market were pointing us in the same direction. That's why in Cardano, for example, we've been looking for a bullish direction in search of the Z. The same, to see if we can join there in a Z, aiming for a long-term institutional target. That would be ideal. And regarding Ethereum's chart, when the price was at this point, we wanted to see the birth of this bullish Z. If the price drops from here on that structure, we can look for a long to reach a Z up to this point. Well, that would be the second target. The first would be the click. First target, second target. What we're going to do this time is analyze whether that impulsive Z will continue its path or if it's about to meet that bullish limit to turn around. If we analyze Bitcoin first, it's important to remember that we are very close to a guideline that, at a macro level, we evaluate could be a very important creek for the future. But if we focus on the short and medium term and zoom into the hourly time frame, what we're going to give importance to is this strong bearish impulse, which is clearly working a complex corrective pattern that is engaged in a bullish accumulation process. At least, that's what the volume tells us, and that's what we've already analyzed in previous videos. Ultimately, within this macro bullish accumulation process, we identify a micro bullish accumulation process that has been continued with a strong impulse and has been accompanying the price in the form of a channel. In the end, if we value this macro click, we're going to think and also remember how common it is to break through these structures where smart money does a prior job of creating a supply line through which they don't want to see the price fall before gaining strength to break through the creek. That's why we give vital importance to this Bitcoin guideline that you're seeing on the hourly chart. And soon I'll explain what I think they can do to us here, cross-referencing this with Ethereum in its 4-hour time frame. You remember we've been working on an aggressive Z that ended in a wedge and impacted a highly relevant macro structure, which generated an impulse at the time, a corrective pattern that has had a failure in its replication. And this failure in its replication favors and strengthens the idea of seeking, in the short and immediate term, an opposite impulsive movement. Returning to the hourly time frame, what we're seeing here is compression against a relevant structure. As you saw a moment ago, we've been considering the hypothesis, the idea of experiencing a complex corrective pattern, where we're now in the midst of building Z. Here we find a creek of what we think is a bullish accumulation process. We identify an advanced guideline, a micro bullish accumulation process within a macro bullish accumulation process whose breakout came to test, and regarding the impulse, price continuity is being given with a bullish channel. Similar to Bitcoin, we'll give great importance to this guideline, which in Ethereum's case is displayed very transparently, since with Bitcoin, we must weigh a few traps to see the same structure, but ultimately we see the same thing. And here we see how they might be preparing to break a key level to break upwards. Now, let me explain the importance of understanding what the altcoins are doing so we can cross-reference all this information from Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then evaluate how we can focus our investments in the short and medium term. But first, welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity. Regarding altcoins, take a look at Cardano in its 1-hour time frame, as in this case the price already contacted the creek, and here a defense zone is forming. If we practice cross-analysis and analyze what Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, among others are doing, I honestly think they're going to set a bearish trap on this structure. We'll go into detail on this in Crypto Insight live streams. Now I want to show you something about Cardano. Notice that here we also have a micro bullish accumulation process, and they're generating a bullish channel. A context, a typical situation, prior to seeking a breakout on a macro creek. Now, observe Solana. As it is true that here we're seeing something different, something distinct, as Solana seems to be muddying. Quite well, the creek, it seems like it's not respecting it too much. That's why we speculate that we can go seek a structural detachment to eventually be able to cleanly break it. Here we can say the same, an accumulation process followed by a bullish channel. At the end of the day, even though I haven't marked it on Cardano, we're facing a complex corrective pattern, and now we're experiencing a Z that in my opinion seems like it's going to die. It's probable that it may seem like they want to do this to create scenarios, who knows if as a trap, but really for this to prosper, for the Zeta to become an even bigger concept. Now, I want you to notice how it's possible that in our midterm hypothesis, which started prioritizing bullish paths in the crypto market from the lower levels, as I showed you earlier, notice how within this map we can look for short-term opportunities in the market that we share with Crypto Insight members, which I'm going to show you now. In the future, if this level attacks us, and at that specific moment, Cardano, at that specific moment, oh, I have no doubt that this will happen if at that specific moment, Cardano finds itself at the click and doesn't surpass it. If this perfect timing setup happens, a sale could be attempted. You've seen how in a 5-minute operation we've been showing the idea of looking for these shorts in the market, even though we're positive in medium to long-term terms in the crypto ecosystem. Ultimately, this apparent duality of directional preference can coexist without any problem, because working on macro analysis is one thing, and quite different is seeking opportunities in the market in intraday trading. And if you'd like to be part of these live sessions where we look for trading opportunities practically daily, continuing with Solana, we see that it makes sense for this wedge to collapse. Ultimately downwards, it will be the search for a typical detachment when we muddy a structure, potentially to come and find that defense zone. In other words, to be a structural trap to then, yes, give continuity to that macro Z. Then, at least look for the institutional target of this entire accumulation process. In the case of Polkadot, we know that a black swan event occurred here, a very relevant event in the market that frankly, for the long term, looks anything but nice. But as we're focusing on the short-medium term in this hourly time frame, what we see that makes a lot of sense is at least going to search for the origin of the breakout, whether horizontally or structurally diagonally, we'll see. From there, among other reasons, we could speculate. Not only cryptocurrencies, but as I showed you earlier, the traditional market also made sense to go for an impulsive movement. And here we are seeing that Z in Polkadot. Ultimately, here we have an accumulation process that was pierced with great force, and price continuity is being given with a bullish impulse. This teaches us that as long as this idea is defended and the price may want to work within a range, we may at some point experience an aggressive upward impulse. Basically, it will be a macro Zeta. To wrap up, I'll tell you that with Bitcoin, it makes sense, of course, for them to come and attack the defense zone, even because why not? To generate a trap scenario, to come and look for a macro defense zone on which to seek the breakout of the creek, validation, and price uptrend. In the end, this is our market directional idea. The idea is that the current Zeta, which it's true could collapse and go to hell. We think it won't do that, and rather the Zeta will continue to be more macro as a concept. And as you well know, this doesn't work by pretending to have absolute truth or thinking that we can predict the future. That's why we must consider what we should see on the chart to get rid of the idea of a macro Zeta. Because if we saw in Bitcoin, and we don't care how, they break through us with force and validate the structure, that macro idea of the Z will lose strength, and this micro Zs will take a lot of initiative to have a bearish bias. At least it will ask to search for the guideline regarding the macro bearish impulse. If we saw something similar, we would remove that idea from our heads, the idea of prioritizing longs. The same with Ethereum. If we saw that this level is pierced with a lot of strength and in a test it is unable to recover, the idea of looking for a macro Z, at least for the short term, would disappear, and we should prioritize bearish searches. Remember, I'm showing you what we should see to change our minds. Here we are already showing ourselves unidirectional, and it's about having a priority, looking up, and if the market proves us wrong, we'll know when to act and then change our minds. Now, leave me your opinion in the comments regarding the crypto market to know if you are bullish or bearish. And if you like the content, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon so that YouTube notifies you of future posts. Also, share this video with other crypto and trading communities so that Crypto Insight reaches many more people. Good luck with your investments, and until next time.